My bong packs. Hold on. Got to rip it first.
What's going on?
I'll rip it on camera. We're good.
Yeah, we're live. We're watching some NBA playoffs. We're gonna just hang out like we always do. We're starting to get in a really flow, and I hope you guys like this kind of Joe Rogan-esque companion show where we just literally have drinks, a few smokes if you're into that type of thing, some meals. I'm a huge coffee guy. You know, Dan Campbell is from my neck of the woods now, being he's the Lions head coach. Like, not my neck of the woods in terms of like live here, but in my state. He claims he drinks more coffee than anyone in the state of Michigan. I don't know. I like my coffee quite a bit, and if I had his bankroll, I think we'd be competitive. That being said, I'm highly caffeinated, and I'm excited because I'm going to debunk some things that I think a lot of people are afraid to say. The USFL sucked in some ways.
How so?
Hold on, let me make this point. The NFL has always sucked in some ways. Baseball continues to suck in some ways.
The refs in this basketball game suck right now.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, though, is every sport has an ebb and a flow, right? Everybody has to fill the gas tank of their vehicle to get to point A to point B. You don't get to point A and then drive to point B and back and forth. There's a yin and a yang to it. And I don't think people are being fair because of this reason. I think people wanted it to be a disaster, and it wasn't a disaster. So then they got to pretend like every horrible decision that they made or that happened, they got to magnify it, right? I studied psychology, and a lot of people tend to either magnify situations or make them minimalistic where they don't matter at all. And the truth is, it's somewhere in the middle is always the answer, whether it be politics, whether it be social events. I don't think you should ever live on the extremes. Only in characters, if you're being silly and goofy like the Hardy Boys, maybe, and climbing Vince McMahon paper ladder and chairs. Speaking of chairs, I would love to be a chairman of the USFL because they pulled better numbers than the XFL in week 1. XFL topped out at 3.1 million viewers their first weekend. The XFL topped out at, or the USFL topped out at 3.5. And that was on a holiday weekend where a lot of people, a lot of fathers, a lot of people had religious duties, had family duties, daddy duties, and things of that nature. When those things clear up, we could see even bigger numbers, especially now there has been an establishment of what to expect. Also, I'll get these guys in here in just a moment. I want to also mention that you got to understand, with the introduction of internet broadcasting, YouTube, some of these other ones, Roku devices from Fubu to, what's the other one I'm missing? I don't know why I'm blanking. It's Baby Blue, Sling. With all these, it takes an extra 2 days to find out the numbers. So we already exceeded expectations in terms of viewership, and they are the highest spring league to ever pull in cable viewers. Once they add in the online components, I think we're only going to see a bigger boom. What was your guys' initial thought? And I love that Mike was transparent and hasn't watched that much, because I think, again, that yin and yang is good, because I watched like every minute. I wasn't able to be with my family, so I figured I might as well go full degen mode. So Mike is the opposite. And then Governor poetically is in the middle tonight. I didn't do that on purpose, but you probably have the best perspective between me and Mike because you probably watch just more than Mike, but not as much as me. So maybe you have more of a rational point of view.
I was probably more like the casual fan. I watched the early game Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to work and Easter Sunday, so I was only able to catch a little bit of the later game, the Breakers game. And then they postponed the night game, and I was able to watch it on Monday night. So I didn't see all the games, but I did catch what I could around Easter Sunday. And I did watch the first and last game.
Yeah, I watched the first game on Saturday night with New York, and somehow, no wait, I watched.
You watched the Birmingham
Saturday
Generals game, yeah?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we were watching it in here, yeah.
We were. Okay, no, I was gonna say I watched some of the Jeff Fisher game, and they came all the way back.
Oh, that would have been the early Sunday game.
Yeah, okay, so I did watch.
That was the one I missed completely.
And I couldn't believe it. Jeff Fisher's team came all the way back. But yeah, so I watched the New York team, and
I had the defense against Jeff Fisher's team, and it would look so good until the last game.
Right? Yeah, I know. Same thing. Houston, what happened? I think they blew a 17-0 lead, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it was brutal.
But yeah, and then I will say the second quarterback, DeAndre Johnson for New York or New Jersey. Excuse me, I'm slighting my own state. It's the New Jersey Generals. He really had a great performance when he got a chance to play. He was definitely moving the ball, I think, more consistently. And again, as we've said with these somewhat questionable offensive lines, I think mobile quarterbacks may have more of a factor. And then this guy Satterfield, who we never thought about, really kind of outshined everybody on the receiving aspect for New Jersey. That is, I thought Turpin was going to be the guy, and they kept highlighting Turpin during the game on their monitor, and the ball kept going to Satterfield on the big plays. So, both running backs for New Jersey, I thought, kind of did all right. So, we'll see going forward what else it brings. I didn't really watch much of the other games, but I did keep tabs on like who was having good fantasy games and whatnot. I know Teamu had a pretty good game, I believe, which was expected. But Shea Patterson might have lost his job already.
Yeah. Then again, Paxton Lynch came in, threw an interception, didn't look too much better.
Oh, wait, yeah, they won. Never mind.
Yeah, Houston ended up winning, and they went back to Shea Patterson in the second half. It looks like it's Shea's job to lose. Jeff Fisher did speak about how he thinks Shea is a safer player, and they have almost what a lot of people are considering NASCAR defensive ends, where they're just strictly pass rushers, and they tend to be a bit more skinnier and a bit more agile. And so Jeff Fisher's strategy, I think, is to go with a more game manager of Shea Patterson, and then rely on that defense. I want to say on Schofield, was it Field of Dreams or was it Broken Dreams? Like, are we going to see that Gold Dust performance again, or like how real was it? Because if you guys remember, it was prime time, and it was mainly off of 2 catches. Or is this just the type of league that we're going to have to do, where we have to almost, like in the NFL, you can go for more consistency. You can count on Adams and Rodgers, or the cogs that heat the hot water heater. In this league, because remember, guys, again, I'll speak in generalities because I think a lot of people, this will sound bad, but I could rattle off numbers to you. And if any of you want to rattle off numbers, I'm not saying not to. What I find interesting, though, is the stories that I gathered by watching the game, because I don't think a lot of DFS people actually watch the games. I think they paid attention to the numbers. So I'm going to bring you the stories. And then when we do the breakdown in a couple days leading into week 2, we'll break down more of the numbers. I did find some interesting nuggets, though. Most of these teams had only practiced for 3 weeks. Some of these guys are in the upper 20s in age, and they know this is their last chance. We saw some injuries, and you saw some real emotion because these kids knew that, hey, this is probably it for me. Like, literally, this is it. You know, a kid broke his forearm in the Michigan game, for example. You know, so we saw some of those. We saw some disrespect too, you know, that I have to give the United States Football League credit for because they could have just roasted some of these players and they showed a lot of class. We spoke about Michigan's Quincy Ajobo from that new Shea Patterson. He just decided not to show up. He decided the league wasn't worth his time, didn't show up. From all accounts, the coaches knew that he was kind of leaning on his way out, but literally didn't let any of his teammates know for sure. Just didn't show up the day of the game. To me,
Wow.
that's classless. If you bring that to a workforce environment of any of the 3 of us, I think we would agree. If we just no-show jobs, it's not a good look.
Good luck getting a look from the NFL going forward.
Right. That's what I mean. Like you give your 2 weeks notice and see, and that's what I wanted to bring up next is they survived. The XFL kind of bought into the gimmick, and then it felt like they were trying to do a traveling circus literally every week. Jeff Fisher admitted on the live broadcast at one point, this is a mix of our preseason and week 1. So if you're into that type of thing, he said, you're going to see a true. He basically said, no, actually, I think the other coach had picked it up at that point, and they basically admitted that it was almost like a documentary where you're going to see some football and you're going to see some growing pains. But I found that refreshing. I thought their coverage outside of the game was terrific. I thought they highlighted a lot of trainers. They highlighted the relationship these trainers have with these players. Like I said, a lot of them are older. A lot of them hadn't played in, years in some cases. And so to get their bodies ready in 3 weeks was really impressive. Gov, I want to get you back in here. What else did you want to mention? Because I got some more stories on it, and then we'll talk about the NBA.
I'm about to say, I was looking at this NBA game. So, my biggest takeaway, let's see. I personally loved, I don't want to go so far as to say I love the games, but the games I watched were entertaining.
Yeah.
I do think it was probably a mistake for them to start this. I feel like my biggest problem is the fact that they're going to play everything in one spot. I know logistically it's better, but we're not in COVID times where everything needs to be in a bubble. So, I feel like they should have gotten a few different places to play instead of bringing everyone to Birmingham and giving one team basically home field for the entire season. And as we saw, maybe it was hopefully it was just because of Easter Sunday, but the only game that got attendance was the Saturday night game with Birmingham. There wasn't really anyone in the stands on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, Sunday was tough, I bet, though.
Yeah, with it being Easter Sunday, I doubted people were going to come out. You were in Birmingham, Alabama, a very religious part of the country. People were going to church and doing other things on Easter Sunday. They're not going to a football game. Maybe if it was Birmingham playing, but
like I said, I want stories like this go because we can break down the numbers later. Everyone and their mom can look at a spreadsheet. We watch the game. So this is the type of stuff I want on my podcast for a first look. So this is great. This is great conversation. I would agree with you that traveling would enhance it in some ways, but you got to remember by not traveling, they are saving so much money for the players. So that's kind of what I mean in a way. It's like you can't always have
True, and the revenue they would get from stadiums and that is not what's going to keep. It's the TV money that's going to keep the league afloat.
Right.
But then there's also the other problem of, I don't know if it's good to play 3 football games on one field in the same day.
Well, they're not doing
that. Could be a problem.
They're not doing that anymore. That was a week 1 premier situation.
And realized that wasn't going to work. So now they're doing 1 Friday game, 2 Saturday games, and 1 Sunday game.
Correct.
I mean, how good can the field get in one day, though? I mean
that at least gives you time to try to resod. You can go over it. You can reline everything, repaint everything. Like a grounds crew can do something in like 4 or 5 hours, but you're basically giving you like a 1 hour turnaround to go fix divots.
From the
game before. That's not good. It's not like they're playing in a stadium that's on AstroTurf. They're playing on actual grass. That's
But I hope these guys don't get injuries on a beat up field because they're resodding and it's not it's just like patchy.
See, that's what that's my weary is that to do something like this, I would have wanted an even more controlled environment. But the only place they could go is still an outdoor stadium. But it's probably not built to play. I mean, I'm sure they play high school games and college games at that stadium. I forget who else played there before, but I doubt it's built for 4 high-end games a week.
Right. Yeah.
I believe mainly it's a Division II field. But I did want to say that so there's a couple key differences, and I like that they embraced it. There is only 35-man rosters, which means your starters are playing special teams.
That's true. I noticed that was why Vic Bolden was not playing so well as the number 1 wide receiver for the Generals. He was actually their main kick returner as well.
Yeah, and I like it from a
doesn't give you a lot of subs at all.
Nope.
Well, I like it from a strategic standpoint because some people are carrying 2 tight ends. Some people are carrying 4 tight ends. The Philadelphia Stars, for example, have asked their kicker to punt the ball as well. So that's going to lead to a strategy of do you kick it? Do you go for the 2 points? And so, I just like that there's different variances and strategies in the game. I thought they balanced the humanitarian stories very well because I told you we were going to get some stories and just let it happen organically. There was a kid who got his first interception in 3 years, okay? I didn't even know him at the time. He went and threw the ball to somebody. You could tell he was emotional. They immediately got over to the sideline and asked him who it was. He said it was my pops. It was my pops. They then went over to his dad. They interviewed his dad live on TV and said, "Why were you guys so emotional?" He said, "My son hurt his knee and literally his college career got shortened. And he's been waiting for an opportunity like this. And he just made the play of his life." He goes, "I know a lot of people are not watching today because of Easter, but you got to realize these people are real people, and this is their last chance." We got his mom up here. His girlfriend's watching him play football for the first time. His kids are seeing him play football for the first time. I don't think we understand how important and how proud our parents probably are of our jobs or our situations, because we just assume we work blue collar jobs, right? It's like, oh, I'm a barista. But you don't understand the impact of a barista. I went to get a coffee this morning, for example, and me and this lady had a 5-minute conversation, right? And it was a very pleasant conversation. Now, whether she remembers that conversation or not, I just brought it up on my podcast, so I remember it. It meant something to me. And so, like, you start bridging these things together organically, and they make more sense. We're going to see in a couple of weeks, the NFL is going to manifest a lot of stories, especially with Mel Kiper not being there live. I think we're going to get more vignettes. I actually like that it was kind of amateur hour in a way, and the announcers admitted they made mistakes. There was who I forget the kid that was with Paul Burmeister on I think FS1 or USA Network. I'll even admit I don't remember, but it was a young corner I believe who played for the Seattle Seahawks and the Legion of Boom years, and it was his first broadcast, and he made a mistake, and I found it very refreshing because, and this isn't a shot at anybody, I actually think this is the NFL's fault. If Joe Buck messes up a name, right, or Tony Romo messes up a name, they immediately either have to address it or they have to like pretend like it didn't exist and then make it into a joke. This guy literally said, like, like, my fault. I made a mistake. He didn't like make a joke about it being week one, him being out of shape. Like, he just said, like, my fault. So a lot of it was authentic to me, Like, a lot of people say, oh, the weather was bad. It's like, are we really going to blame the USFL for the weather? Like, they got through the week. I remember, Gov, I want you to speak on this. We were watching the game live, and you said all they need to do is get through this week without it being a disaster. Did they do that?
They got the barely. Like, USFL didn't really have a disaster. They can't control the weather, but then there's, on the other hand, I never figured the weather to be a factor. Weather doesn't stop football games.
Usually, yeah.
You play in the sleet, in the snow, in the rain. As long as there's not a lightning or tornado threat, that game should have played.
I think it kind of worked out.
That's going to be the iffy part, because that makes it seem like not real football. Because even a college game gets played in the snow. Like that, like weather is not supposed to stop a football game. That's a big problem.
But in your opinion, what if they said, fuck you, Gov, we don't care. We actually care about player safety.
What part of playing in the rain or in the snow is unsafe?
Well, also, if it's the same field, I don't know if it was raining all day.
Yeah, playing on a slicker surface is unsafe, but like I don't see a huge safety factor in weather conditions.
Yeah,
safety is more like,
play on a
don't let me
field that's grass, you're going to tear it up if it's raining.
Well, that just goes back to my whole thing of they should have done, if they were going to do this in one place, it should be an indoor. They should have found a dome place to do it.
I agree with you.
Just if you were going to do it where you didn't, just pay the money. Do it in the Georgia Dome. Do it in New Orleans. Like, go to Jacksonville, play it in their stadium. Tallahassee has like UCF just built a stadium in Central. Like, play it somewhere there. Do it something like that. Play it in a dome where the weather's not going to matter. Otherwise, the whole point of some teams not having domes, like New England hasn't built a dome in Foxborough because they still want to be able to play snow games against people. Like, they want the weather to be a factor as part of their home field advantage.
Right. And they have a week to...
Nothing about the weather is against
fix
safety.
their turf.
Like, that's my thing. I'm sure there is, but that's not a factor. Saying, oh, we're not going to let them play in rain or sleet for the safety. Then you don't want them playing football. That's that. Now we're getting to the whole point of let's not turn it into flag football. But if this league is going to become flag football with better camera angles and better replays, I'm not even going to want to bet on it.
Yeah,
that's going to be a bad thing. I need this to stay as actual football. I need this to stay as actual football, and we don't need to pansy out by not playing in the rain.
I disagree.
Some of the Blizzard games are some of the best games I've ever seen. to be like as horribly low scoring as it was, that wind game between Buffalo and New England this last year, where Mac Jones and New England ran the ball, I think all of 50 plus times or something.
Passes, right?
He threw 3 passes, one and went like 1 of 3 for 18 yards or something. Like that was still a good game.
Dude, Bogdanovich is insane right now. I'm sorry.
Go fuck off with Bogdanovich. I need fucking Bam.
I'm not rooting for him. I'm just saying. Unbiased.
All right, Bam hits a bucket. Come on. Come on, Bam.
Honestly, Mike, I like that like live reaction. And I thought we got a lot of that during the USFL. And I found that to be refreshing.
Hawks might come back here.
Damn, I should have done the pivot. I had a pivot on my lineup where I was going to get off of Hunter.
I didn't take Bogut, but he's been money this fourth quarter.
Yeah, my showdown single entry, I had Hunter and Dwayne Dedman, and I should have just gone Struss and Gabe Vincent. And damn, that would have been a huge swing right there.
But hold on, let me steer this a little bit, and we can get back to talking about whatever. But what I really like though is that we're able to have these live reactions similar to the USFL, where like the NFL would try to be like, no, we need to be too polished. I know there's people that said, oh, you need to look a certain way, or hey, you guys need a green screen, or hey, Mike's wall needs to be purple and not brown, and like, but when you're growing, you're gonna experiment, and like you can either pretend that experimentation isn't natural, or you can embrace it. And I felt like even in the mistakes, the USFL had an answer. And to Gov's point, he might be right. Maybe it was a shit show. Maybe it was the mud of the field. Maybe it was a lot of factors that made it not great football. But they had a plan. When the other CBS league closed, they couldn't pay their players for 3 weeks. The XFL literally closed down because of COVID. Now, is that their fault? Who knows? All I'm saying is Vince McMahon had the money to front it if he wanted it and chose not to. So at least the United States Football League leaned into the fact it was Easter. All the kids got in for free. They had an Easter bunny. They bought into the gimmick a bit, but it was mainly about football. One last point I want to mention, and I'll let you guys close up on it. You know, we can talk NBA and just shoot the shit the rest of the time. I really liked that they didn't try to introduce a Johnny Manziel or a Colin Kaepernick. They were like, we're independent wrestling, and we're going to focus on what we do, and what we do is football, right? They didn't bring in a Johnny Manziel.
No sideshow.
Yeah, and a lot of these other leagues did. And
then again, to be fair, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like Kaepernick decided not to play. Like that, and Johnny Manziel, I'm pretty sure made that decision because they were available, but no one drafted them, and they didn't like. Those guys had to put their names into the league.
I know, but I know this for a fact. I know that because I looked it up today.
Mm-hmm.
They told Colin Kaepernick that there is a limit to how much he can make, just like any other player in the league. They were not going to overpay based on a name. They were not going to pay for someone's name, and the XFL did that. Why I like it, and I'll let you finish up on it because I think you're about to bring up a really good point, is instead of using other people's names to build a Johnny Manziel from Texas A&M, a Colin Kaepernick with his social issues, they introduced us to guys that we don't know, and they were like, when you remember these guys, when you learn these guys, when Mike buys his first USFL jersey, if he ever does, at least that's our guy, you know? They introduced us to a family of players that we, for the large majority, didn't know. Right? Like Scott, for example, looked like a young Aaron Rodgers at times. But he also showed a lot of a lot of fun. And I think the common man, especially on a holiday where you might be throwing the pigskin around with a family member, I think not having good football might have been more relatable in a way. Like it kind of made them seem more human. Now, that level of play has to increase. Like if week 1 is the preseason, you want to see growth. You don't want to see perfection, but you got to see improvement. Did you guys want 5-10 minutes? Like I'll tee the ball over the net, and then you guys can spike it home. It can take 5 seconds to spike or 5 minutes.
For the USFL,
any closing thoughts?
I just was gonna say I thought perhaps, by luck with the weather. I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but it may have opened up more viewers on a Monday night primetime game than a Sunday night on Easter primetime game. Also, like the other thing that they're struggling with is like the NBA playoffs is going on. That's part of the reason why I didn't really get a chance to watch much, is because when I did have a chance to watch sports, I was like, man, it's week 1 USFL or NBA playoff quite better.
Mike, isn't that good? They pulled in 3.5 million.
No, it's great for them that they did the numbers they did with all they had going up against. I just think it'll definitely open up the later on in the NBA playoffs as goes, because I mean you will have hockey playoffs starting up, so maybe there's a different viewer who's going to pick NHL playoffs over a new football league, but there's people who just love football and are going to want to watch football over anything.
I want to respond to you real fast and kind of take it a different direction. Then I promise I'll get back to Gov. Shame on DraftKings for one reason. They offered us contests, right? They didn't fill the contest because they bit off more than they could chew. Okay? And then they fixed it. And I love DraftKings. Like, they have great customer service. They made it right. The only gripe I have against DraftKings, though, is this morning I woke up and it was almost like on social media, they were trying to say oh, well, if the USFL was more structured, then the salaries wouldn't have been released and the numbers wouldn't have been released. And if we had a partnership with them, it would have been better. They messed up. Their data got leaked when it wasn't supposed to. So if anyone that doesn't know, instead of showing one game, just like it would for any other lock scenario of any other contest, it showed everyone's percentages. That's not on the United States Football League. So to kind of blame a child for a parent's mistake is silly. And to me, I love DraftKings. So it was just a moment of frustration over disappointment. But to kind of not take full responsibility for that was kind of sad, because it made the United States Football League look more amateur than I think they anticipated. So I had to get that out for full transparency. Gov, any last closing thoughts you wanted to make?
I feel like, the whole snafu with DraftKings, them leaving the ownership open, accidentally giving out double the tickets, so the contest filled same day, because they were only supposed to give out 10,000 to try to help fill the contest, and they gave out basically enough to fill the contest in free tickets. I do wish they would have gone back and maybe done some better math, because this week they went from a 23,000 person contest to a 9,000 person contest.
Say that one more time for Mike.
They went I heard from that. No, why would they do that? They sold out the second contest too.
I know, that's my thought. It's they then open after they had the 23,000 that they effed up, they
gave everyone their money back.
Right. Well, actually, that might come back to bite them too, because from what I'm hearing with people, some guys who only had the $12 free ticket got $12 put back in their account.
Mm.
So DraftKings might realize that they end up, not only did they give away 20,000 free tickets, enough people didn't register for other contests or only use that as their ticket money to get in. Now they're basically going to, let's say half of those 20,000 were people who just used that ticket on that one USFL contest
Mm-hmm.
and didn't put any other money in. Now you're basically giving 10,000 times $12. What's that? 120K? Is that my math wrong? Right? Yeah, that's my math. 120K. They just gave away $120,000. Not only did they mess up their contest, but if what I'm hearing from certain people are right, they may have not just given people a $12 ticket, given them straight up $12 in their account. And so they might have accidentally lost them. Straight to the people. Like, they might have a bank error in your favor. DraftKings just lost 100K. Someone won 100K or lost 100K on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was DraftKings or not, who knows? So, like, they might have lost more than they thought because they basically filled that contest and then they refunded everyone their money, even if they only got in on their $12 ticket.
Look,
so they just gave away the whole money for the contest, essentially.
Yeah, and that, trust me.
But that's on them.
Yeah, but this criticism, and I want you to know this, DraftKings, because I did reach out to your marketing department, and you actually got back to a little podcast and gave us some good advice. Again, they have great nutritional, what I consider nutritional, because they're always trying to grow the community, right? And so they always had this eye for growth. And I don't think it's as negative. Like, I don't think it's as greasy spoon as people sometimes think when it comes to gambling. But instead of saying, we're sorry about this, I think they should have leaned into it. They did the right thing. You already took a huge bath, so just lean into it. Make some memes, make some parodies, have fun with it.
Be right back.
But instead, they went really cheap with week 2, and I thought that was a mistake. I would have maybe not gone as expensive, but kind of use it as a promotional tool to be like, hey, we give back. We're the Robin Hood of the DFS community. I would have liked to see that angle more. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm a DraftKings guy over all the other ones. I love DraftKings. Like I said, I think everything's a business to those guys, obviously in the DFS community, but they have the most human elements to me. So I'm a DK fan. So we're at halftime, and we'll start talking about NBA now because I think it's a perfect transition because we're at halftime. Everyone knows the second halves are always the most exciting halves. We'll have Phoenix starting.
Miami did win that game. It was close there at the end, but they won 115-105. So they're up 2-0 in the series. My prop is dead because I should have taken the under on Trae Young. I'm absolutely stupid for that. I knew it was his under day.
I didn't mean to say halftime. I meant to say 2 games that started. We still have the full Phoenix game.
I'm about to say we're technically at the halfway point because the first game's over, second game's halfway done. So we got the second half of this game plus the Phoenix game, which I believe has just locked or is just locked a few minutes ago.
I do believe so, yeah.
And so it should be starting here shortly.
Again,
I'm going to switch over to that game. I had it on Minnesota-Memphis, but I do sort of want to watch the Phoenix game.
The Phoenix game, I have YouTube TV, so I can use my phone to broadcast the other game. Beautiful thing about the internet TV.
Jimmy Butler, 45-5-5. Just a beast.
I will say, I think Jimmy will go down as this decade's most underrated player.
He's definitely pretty, now that he's actually being it's funny because I'm still on the side of I don't know how far Miami can go with Jimmy Butler, even seeing that they took LeBron to 7 games in the finals and almost beat the Lakers in the bubble.
Yeah. Who would you compare Jimmy Butler to in other sports? Like this guy that was good. No one ever said he wasn't good, but everyone thought he had reached the ceiling. And then
Until this year, I would have said Stafford. Like, this guy's pretty damn good. I'm not sure if he can actually win a title, but I haven't seen anyone put a good team around him to see.
Stafford.
Then you put him on.
Yeah.
So, like, Stafford probably would be one of my best comparisons for that.
That's
Like,
a great.
there's a guy who's definitely underrated, but quite good at his position. And now that he's on a good team and not the second guy next to Towns on Minnesota or just another dude on another team, like, you see that he's actually pretty damn good and can lead you pretty far. But
Mike,
like, that would be my first thought. Yeah.
That was a great question and also great on the spot answer because I know we don't do any prep for these questions. So
Oh God,
that was
no,
pretty great. That was pretty great. I walked right back when I heard you dropped that question, and you really didn't even hesitate.
My brain moves at 10,000 miles a minute anyway. So
mine doesn't.
Roadrunner drove right by, and I just looked like my brain went like Roadrunner right down the road. And the next thing you know, I stopped next to the bird seed, and the bird seed had a stick in it, and the stick just fucking said Stafford.
I also get stuck on what
basically
the last person said, and I'm like, well, you can almost. I think more people knew this, but you could also almost say the same about OBJ. Like, OBJ was really good, but
problem was I went by the premise of a guy who's been underrated and now is getting a shot to be the main guy on a good team.
Yeah.
And that's what I see Jimmy Butler. And so I was looking for a guy like that. And I never would have seen OBJ as underrated. He was always like the guy. He was touted coming out, and then if anything, he's underachieved.
Colin was always number 2 on Portland, and now, I mean, he's 1A or 1B.
There's another basketball player that is like that. Yeah, like CJ might be a younger version of Jimmy.
Not that their games are alike. Jimmy's way better defender, I think.
Two different players. Jimmy's more of a defensive wing. Outside shooter, can play a little down low. McCollum is a guard. And now that he can be the point guard without literally having the ball, you see what he can do.
Yeah.
Now Ingram can play off ball. If Valanciunas has anything in the tank, they're like they are a sneaky good team. I just don't know if they have the depth. I don't know if Trey Murphy and we're already seeing Jackson Hayes is getting played off the court. Herbert's a good rookie, but if we're expecting Larry Nance and Trey Murphy and Jose Alvarado to be the difference makers when they have to be on the court, I don't think they're going very far. Like, that's where the Pelicans lose me. They might have an okay starting core, although they have a liability in their starting lineup, and I don't think their bench makes up for that. For them to make up for like a Jackson Hayes, they would need a true like 6-man coming off the bench. Like, they'd be great if they had like John Collins coming off the bench.
Are we forgetting that
John Collins is too good to come off the bench?
He comes off the bench for Atlanta.
Hold on.
Now because he's hurt.
Right. I mean, he's coming back. True. He would start next to Capella. Usually.
Don't do the Stan Van Gundy thing. Stan Van Gundy.
Thank you, Logan. I'm not talking about you, Governor, but with Stan Van Gundy, I thought the same thing last night, and I'm glad you're going to bring it up. I know where you're going. Or do you want me to say it since you were reading?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike, since you know it.
Oh, yeah, Stan Van Gundy is just going on and on about how because Steph Curry's coming off the bench, well, I want to say it wasn't even Stan Van Gundy, and I apologize for not knowing who the play-by-play guy was, but I believe he said it first. Man, Steph Curry could be sixth man of the year if he was, if this was the whole, if the playoffs were included, and no joke, they went to commercial break, they come back, Steph Curry hits another 3, and Stan Van Gundy he has kind of like a dramatic pause like I just had there, but where he like emphasizes like he's about to say something great, and he says the same exact line that the other guy just said. He's like, man, I mean, really, if Steph Curry, played the whole season off the bench, we could really be talking about him as sixth man of the year. And I was just like, wow, there's a real delay over here.
Oh yeah. I honestly love Stan Van Gundy, but yeah.
So do I. Yeah. And I was so sad. Like,
no, I don't like you, Stan Van Gundy. I dislike you even more now. I would take you off. Like, you remember when Joe Rogan said what they were trying to make?
Rogan's clearly a Jeff Van Gundy guy.
They were trying to make.
I like both.
I actually don't like Jeff, but I do like Stan. I don't know why. I feel they're almost the same, honestly.
I would almost bench Stan Van Gundy for a game because I'm not even kidding with you, Mike. I am 100%. Listen, it wasn't funny, right? And we all know that humor is subjective, okay? But nobody was laughing. Even the other announcer, who I don't even remember. It's a good thing I don't remember him because Stan Van Gundy made such a donkey of himself.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't want to be associated with that broadcast. Literally, the guy pretty much said, if you missed it, Gov, it sounds like you might not have seen it in its full context. He literally said, okay, Stan, let's move on. And Stan did another 15 minutes on the same joke, almost like we had went to like an open mic night and we didn't get the joke and basically rehearsed the same lame dad joke over and over in different variances. It was like, honestly, an open mic night where everyone's expecting to laugh and Stan Van Gundy gets up there and tries to give you some poetry and you're like, dude, we're here for a comedy show and you're ruining the open mic night. It was that bad.
Someone's going to tap him on the shoulder in the locker room after the game and be like, hey, Stan, you didn't have it tonight.
Well,
that's talk to management, and we're going to give you a break. We're going to send you down to the G League for a couple games and see if you can get your groove back, It's just a couple games, You just got to get that swing back, Get the passion back.
And I didn't like his broadcast at all. I thought some of the stuff he said about Jokic was disrespectful. He at one point, Mike, he said that he thought the Nuggets were better without Jokic on the court.
That's ridiculous.
Because no, that's the thing is he went on to elaborate because Jokic is not very athletic and Draymond Green is having an easier time defending Jokic and is out physicaling Jokic, and it's like. Yeah, Draymond Green is a defensive player of the year, multiple times, a champion, which Jokic is not. It was one game. Jokic has been killing his body.
Home court, home calls. Refs always lean that way.
Yeah, and
they're not going to foul Draymond out.
Look, Jokic had to kill himself physically and emotionally in a sense, not obviously kill, I mean in like the exertion standpoint, to get his team there. Draymond Green literally played, 50 games? And it's not his fault. It's just a victim of circumstance. But he was clearly more rested. And it goes back to what I say. Why do we have to be so black and white, Oreo or chocolate cookie? Guess what? When you buy the Oreo, you get the frosting and the cookie. You don't have to break it apart and only eat the cookie. Like, you get to eat both parts. Why can't we appreciate Draymond Green's defense and also say Jokic's probably still in the MVP race? I don't understand why this first take debate culture is taken over to the point where now these commentators try to be like all worldly. I mute the TV. I never have it on hardly. There's a few rare exceptions, you know. But other than that, I will say
that's just the fact that people are looking and watching TV for opinions.
Yeah,
they're looking for polarization.
Who says John Moran
like if
can't
you're
shoot?
not, it's like just think about it with you. You're not looking for polarization, so you're not watching TV. So the people producing television shows and putting and talking on there don't actually care what you think. You're not watching them.
It's true,
and
but
they need to be polarizing to the people that are watching.
But I'm also not. But I'm also not going to Whoopi Goldberg's Twitter page and telling her she did a good or bad job on The View if I don't watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think some people are having opinions about things that they don't actually care about just to have that opinion. That's the difference. Brandon Ingram's off to a great start, by the way.
Oh, that game started nice because this game is about to be a blowout. John Morant is taking over. Ja just had a sick. He did a behind the back crossover and then crossed it back through the legs, step back three, and nailed it. And it was on like somewhat of a fast break. Like it was in the first probably 10 seconds of the, maybe even 7 seconds of the possession. And then he also got another layup right after that, or floater. He's just taking over. I think he just took a charge now too.
To give you guys
fourth foul on Towns. Jeez.
Oh my God, this fourth. Good Lord.
Anthony Edwards, can you please start doing something?
I can't believe I should have just faded Towns. I knew to fade Trey. I should have just faded Towns.
Mike, you're doing a great job telling them where you're at in your game, so I'm going to give them a timestamp. Joe Rogan does this a lot. I will work on my graphics. It's obviously experimental. We're going to get better. I do have, by the way, for the breakdown show of our DFS lineups, which we will hopefully do near the end of this week. I haven't spoken to the boys about a time, but hopefully we can get together at the end of this week at some point, and we'll do a breakdown show. But in the meantime, we're at about 7 minutes in this Phoenix Suns game. And I'm not even being facetious right now because the Pelicans are showing their life. I chose the Pelicans to make it to the finals. And I got to tell you why. And I'm a fan of him. I really am. We spoke about Jimmy Butler kind of being underrated. I'll say it. Chris Paul is a good player. He's overrated. Every big moment, that man chokes. And
he's always hurt before he can choke.
I was about to say the three big moments he's had, like
he pulls a hamstring.
he pulled a hamstring in the Clippers finals last year and didn't play the first two games. He actually played pretty well, other than the two Scott Foster games in the NBA finals last year. It was Booker who had some shit games that made it so that Milwaukee won in 6.
Hold on. Injuries are part of a skill set, in my opinion. You have to train your body better. He has always failed. It's not just an age thing. It's not just an injury thing. If he was that man, he would have a championship by now. He had chances to be that man, to beat Oklahoma City, to beat Houston, and he failed. And
he needs more protein in his diet.
He might. I'm being serious. I'm like,
vegan.
Look.
Just saying.
When LeBron James, who I don't like, if any of you know, that man invests so much money into his body. If you want to be healthy, you got to invest money. Don't tell me Chris Paul at this advantage couldn't do it. He runs the players union. That man probably has just as much money as LeBron James if he's smart with it. I don't want to know his finances because I think personally your finances should be shared with people you love. And obviously me and Chris do not have that love affair going on. So I really don't want to. But that's the thing is, like, I don't want to attack the man either. Like, but look, injuries, availability is a skill set in my opinion.
I agree, but I think he's clutch. I like him. I think he's a good player. He's a Hall of Famer.
I'd give you that availability as a. availability is definitely a one of the abilities that people have. I don't see your injury proneness as a skill set. I mean, that does lend to what I was saying with Ja earlier. Like, Chris Paul has always been this ball handling guy. He drove to the hole. At 6'3", you kind of need to be a little bulkier to hold up to that kind of stuff.
Okay, go.
But he did do the other thing in that Chris Paul is a very solid shooter. So he can just stop his drives and pull up. Now, he has always gotten hurt, so maybe he's just a guy who's not built to play 100 games.
No.
And like maybe he should have learned that earlier and figured out how to rest more in the regular season so he can get through a playoff run. Or maybe he should have just bulked up, lost a couple years on his career overall because now you're putting all that extra weight on your knees.
Yeah,
but you would have gotten you through. Career. But maybe you get through those 2 or 3 playoff series where you got hurt.
But his injuries were always leg injuries.
Yes. So that's where it's like, I'm not sure if Chris Paul could have literally done anything.
He never needed
And it's not like he blew out a knee completely.
He needed to stay
He's had these minor injuries where it's like, if I play, I'm going to play bad, so I should just sit, but then my team can't get me through.
Hold on, let me make
Except for now on Phoenix, he's not the main dude on the team, so the team can get him through. He just has to come in and be the experienced vet and do what he's been able to do and try to stay healthy. Like, I thought Chris Paul coming to Phoenix was perfect for the end of his career.
I'll let you cook on the stove. I'll let you cook on the stove as long as you need, because I can end this conversation right now easily. Chris Paul might be a genius. He's obviously a superior athlete. He's obviously smart, right? Marketing wise.
And even on the basketball court, intelligence.
By the way, I've looked at his Twitter. He might be one of the best NBA dads out there, which obviously means something for me emotionally. But the reason why I won't give this man credit, especially as he ages and takes care of his body and does smart decisions, you could say Leonard was chicken for not wanting to play all the games. We could have that philosophy. Chris Paul is stupid this season, and this is why I can never give him credit for his injury decisions. He played during the All-Star game. Case closed. You were hurt, and you chose to play in an All-Star game, and you don't deserve to win an NBA playoff series this year. You're a choke artist. And these people saying, injuries are the reason we should give you a pass. You played in the All-Star game while you were hurt and then rested for like 2 months after that. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Was he hurt? I don't remember him being hurt going into the All-Star game.
No, yeah, he had a broken finger and then missed like the next 6 weeks.
He broke his finger, played in the game, and then
he broke his finger, I think, like the Monday before the All-Star break or something in a game. Like it's not like a hairline fracture in his middle finger on his
games for the finger or a separate injury.
He missed games for the finger.
He missed games for the finger. Like he missed like the month after the All-Star break. He only came back like end of March and played like the last 5 or 6 games. Kind of like what Paul George did. He basically came back about the same time and played the last like 5 to 8 games of the season.
I don't want to judge anybody for what they do with their injuries because I feel like people know their bodies and
like the game before the All-Star break.
Maybe you think you can play. Maybe you think, man, this isn't that bad. Like,
well, I mean, no,
he knew he get better.
Again, he didn't
not
get
that
any
bad
surgery
right now.
And he did say like he didn't get surgery. He just he played and he had the big old splint glove on his hand over his middle finger during the All-Star game. Like everyone knew he had like the bad hand. It was one of the things going in the All-Star game. It's like people were asking if he even is going to play, but no, he's going to play. He almost had to play because if not, he would have had to let them give an alternate.
Hold on though, Gov. It was an All-Star game. You were going to play in any All-Star game because it's not baseball. It means nothing.
He didn't have to play, but
he didn't have to get. But it's also not like a real game that he was going to really get hurt.
He doesn't know how many All-Star games he's going to have left. This might be his last one.
Yeah.
I don't.
And he came off the bench. He played like 10 minutes. No one did anything, just like with everyone else. They let him try to jack up a couple shots. Nothing went down, and he really sat the rest of the time. Just like they do with everyone. It's like Steph Curry came in, he started. They let him jack up shots. They just kept going in. Well, so they just let them jack him up. He's jacking them up from half court. They're going in.
I promised we weren't going to turn this into a debate show. So that's what I wanted to preface it saying I like a lot of what Chris Paul does. I think, like I said, I think he is one of the best spokesmen for the league. I thought how he handled the COVID year and how he navigated the Black Lives Matter social injustice. I thought he handled that very well. I think he's like Kobe got a lot of credit for being girl dad. I think you could argue Chris Paul might be one of the better father role models in the league. Like, so don't just because I don't like some of his basketball decisions, don't think I'm trying to turn this into a Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith kind of scenario.
Damn it!
Maybe to Mike's point, he literally treated the All-Star game like a G League game. It was like, let me give this 10 minutes to see what it feels like in a game that means nothing. So then I'll know if I need to rest it or have surgery. Because he did choose not to have surgery. I just think it was the wrong decision. But maybe there wasn't a right or wrong decision. Maybe there was just the decision. And he actually made a decision, unlike LeBron a couple decades
ago. A lot of times once you have surgery, doesn't that make you wait longer?
Yeah.
Like, could he have been out for the rest of the year if he got surgery?
Yeah. If he would have gotten surgery on the finger, he probably wouldn't have been back until like second round of the playoffs. Whereas if he was able to if it healed, like with a mild fracture like he had.
Let me be clear. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he should have chose to have surgery or not have surgery because you brought that up. I want to be clear. My problem is he chose to play in an all-star game, an exhibition game, and then sit out meaningful games. And he played off like Devin Booker needs to grow. And I do think Devin Booker grew because of it, but that's just that's a tough love situation that I don't like. That's like an alcoholic mom saying like, oh, well, my kids turned out all right, even though this bad thing happened to me. You know, they show mental toughness or emotional toughness in this hardship. It's like, yeah, that's true, but like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have been there to support. So that's that. I did have an idea for a segment though, Mike, and I'm not gonna do it because I just think it's too tongue in cheek, and I think it gets away from what we are trying to do with this podcast, where we just be organic. Like we have.
Why bring it up?
Well, I bring it up to say this that
maybe in the future.
Well, maybe in the future, but like other podcasts would be like, okay, we're going to do this. But I think we already had a good back and forth, genuine conversation where you guys can pick sides. I would love for the community to watch this podcast and then 2 weeks later or a week later, tell me what they think about Chris Paul's situation. Have your own opinion. But I don't need to phrase a question for us to have these kind of conversations. So I just realized you don't need to do it.
Man, Ja is a beast.
Yeah.
I really wish I had the money. I should have just played Ja over.
He just got hurt though. I don't think it's that serious. He walked off. I don't know if he took like a knee to knee. It looked like he was almost holding his thigh. Like, I don't know if Carly might have been like.
I swear, if Ja just pulled a hammy like fucking Chris Paul,
he didn't pull a hammy.
Laugh my ass off.
I think he had some body-to-body contact with somebody, so it's probably just some bruising and where.
Yep, maybe. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. If he's going to keep doing that and not
it wasn't on a drive. It was on defense. He was running through a screen.
That's even worse because that's something that's going to happen even if he starts shooting, unless he's just going to be a shooter that plays on defense.
This is on defense.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he's always going to have to play defense like that.
Well, so is everybody.
But he can't be getting hurt playing defense too. Like it's one thing if he gets hurt driving to the hole because he's undersized. It's another thing if he gets hurt because he's undersized and can't defend freaking D'Angelo Russell.
Maybe not.
We'll see. I'd have to see a replay. I don't have it on that game right now.
He just ran through his. He was chasing a defender, and Karl Anthony Towns set a screen, and Karl Anthony Towns like knee or thigh got, I believe, John Morant's thigh. So I'm guessing it's like a bone bruise or something.
Okay, so bang bang. Okay, so
but he doesn't look. He looks in. I mean, not like agony, but just.
Well, again, he was out for a while. What was the injury Ja was out with?
I thought
for like a month.
Was it ankle?
I can't remember now.
See, I thought it was a lower body injury of some kind, so maybe it could have aggravated it. Who knows?
I do think it was lower body, but it wasn't a knee.
Right.
It's similar to DJ Shark, too. A lot of people assume.
Oh, Anthony Edwards. Oh, my goodness. I didn't know Anthony Edwards could do that.
Ant-Man is the beast, right?
And this was not a dunk. I know he can dunk, but he just wait till you see it comes on.
I was about to say, I'm going to switch over to that game. I'll watch the end of it, then I'll switch to the Phoenix game.
We made a basketball or football to basketball comparison. I think Anthony Edwards actually could play football better than most NBA players. I know for a long time people thought LeBron should try tight end. I actually think if Anthony Edwards played football, which he did in high school, and thought about playing in college, from what all accounts I had heard, I think if he wanted to, he could play in the NFL.
To make more money in the NBA, your body doesn't get as much wear and tear in the NBA.
I'm just saying, like, that speaks to his versatility. We're talking about, versatile unicorn stuff of this nature. Mike, I almost want to try something. We've been going with a lot of long form kind of podcasts and had a lot to talk about. We're just over the hour mark. I kind of want to see what an hour-long podcast will do in terms of analytics. We have a lot of shows coming up. We have our week 2 first look, right? And then we have a special show May 3rd. I think there'll be plenty of chances where we can go long and see. But I would like to kind of stop it here and then see what the analytics say in terms of viewership. Do you guys prefer the hour? Do you like it where we go through the whole entire game? Give us some feedback.
I'm fine cutting it here if you want to see how that works.
Yeah, same. We were testing it out.
I kind of like.
You can still hang after.
Yeah,
I like the long form. As we close up shop and kind of give our opinion, I think we will do more long form, more hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes. I kind of like that, but I just want to see what it looks like.
I get what you're saying. Sometimes I see a podcast and I think, oh, man, I don't got time for that.
Right.
And so I just I think sometimes, yeah, you're right. Maybe when we do like a strict DFS picks, maybe if we're doing it like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that for a 7, or maybe we do it like 5 o'clock for a 7 o'clock.
And then we come back.
But we do it short. We do like a 10, right. 15 minute show just to strictly like bang out picks.
Yeah. I could be prepared for that if we did something like that.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't the timing isn't always great for me. So, but I'm just saying we don't have to talk about this now. But
right,
I actually kind of like that, Mike, because not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people. A lot of people like to walk the yellow brick road, but they don't like to play behind the curtain of Oz. So I like that. Like I say, we're going to experiment. I want to close up this podcast in about an hour and 10 minutes and see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you for all the attention we got on the USFL Week 1 podcast. It meant a lot. We had about 180 viewers in just over 2 days. This little podcast that it's tremendous. It means a lot to me. If I can make this into a career, that would be a bonus. I just want to make people money. I really do, in all ways. And not just like money in terms of like cash, I'm saying value. I want to bring value to people's lives. And I really do mean that. So have a good one. Be safe. Be happy.
Thanks for
Enjoy.
watching.
Peace
Enjoy.
out.
Not just Easter. Not just Easter weekend. Say hello to Grandma this Sunday as well. Have a good one, boys. Take care.
Peace out.